Shalom friends, and welcome to yet another amazing place here in the land of Israel. The ancient Greek name of this hilltop fortress was called Hippos. Of course, Latin, and the Romans would call it Susita. It means little horse. I mean, the hill looks a little bit like a little horse, and it was extremely strategic. But the history of this place is just phenomenal. I mean, and even up to modern day. But let's go for a second. I mean, it's in every gospel. I mean, the Galileans wrote about some of the miracles that happened here. And it's in every gospel except John. But let's jump to Mark chapter 4. You recall the sailing across the sea by the disciples, and the master Galilean rabbi was asleep in the front of the ship, and a great storm came upon the ship, and he's just sleeping. They're rolling for their life. They thought they were going to die. You remember this? And he let their faith be tested, but he rises up and he says, "Peace, be still." How many of you know that when God's doing something in your life, sometimes the enemy will want to attack it, will want to shut it down, will want to throw every storm that he can at it, and winds and waves. But the master's not worried. He just says, just where is your faith, you know? And they saw that even the winds and waves obeyed him because he had a plan, he had a purpose. He shows up to this side, right? Who's waiting for them? Quite a scary individual who tears iron fetters, couldn't hold him, doesn't wear clothes, lives among the tombs, cuts himself. His name, he says, is Legion. This man is scary as they come. People can't contain him. Iron bars can't hold him. And he's just demon possessed. And he says Legion, as you know, is about 5,000 or 6,000 people. Like when the Roman legions would show up to these ancient places and dominate it and put into slavery the Jewish people for the glory of the empire of Rome and its emperor. So what happens is Yeshua frees this man, 5,000 or 6,000 demons, to go into about 2,000 pigs. Right? And they scurry off. Right down there is Gadara, Gergesenes, Gadarenes. You know, that's what's right down below here. And they went off the cliff and into the Sea of Galilee. All right, so what do you have here is every time Yeshua did a miracle, he'd tell people, hey, my time's not yet. Tell no man, my time's not yet. But in this case, when the man said, "You've restored me to my right mind. I wish to follow you. I wish to join up with your Galilean gang of Galilean zealots. I wish to follow you." And he says, "No. Instead, go back to the Decapolis," it says in Mark chapter 5. The Decapolis is those 10 cities. You have Deca fingers. So go to the Decapolis and tell them that I'm here, that I have come. So these, of course, the Greeks did rule this whole area, but then the Romans ruled this whole area and kicked out, or really dominated the Jewish people that were here, forced them to follow the ways of the Romans, which is pantheism, and it's all these false gods. And he wanted to restore a true faith to these Galilean hills. So what do you have happen is this legionnaire, who everyone was afraid of, everyone knew of him when they're going down to, say, Tiberias across the lake. I don't know if you can see it. They were a little bit afraid of him. And now they see him showing up dressed and speaking of this Galilean miracle worker, water walker, storm calmer. And so this entire place comes to the Lord. Now, of course, Yeshua hadn't yet even ascended. He hadn't risen. He hadn't died yet. So you have people saying, okay, let's build a place of worship here. And how do we do this? Do we need to actually have a court of the Gentiles like is in the temple? So you have an area. So they have structures here, which is like an old church, which over time, of course, Yeshua did die. He did resurrect. And then after that, this place even became a Byzantine city, and everyone believed in the Lord here. Of course, the demonic, it says, went to the Decapolis, plural. So he would have gone over to Beit Shean, maybe over to Gamla. He would have gone to all the outposts of the Roman Empire. Time passes, and over time, the Jewish people are cast out. The Roman Empire is destroyed, and Romulus is the last emperor of Rome. And what happens, though, this land is then in the hands of modern-day Syria. And you know that from here, missiles would be shot onto those who made Aliyah just down there. Missiles after missiles. Machine gun turrets were established here by the Syrian army and would shoot down onto the boats, the fishing boats where Jewish people were fishing. Like you know, the story of Eli Cohen, the spy. He came and infiltrated the Syrian military, and he said, why don't you go ahead and plant eucalyptus trees to keep the soldiers out of the sun? And of course, then during the war, still we knew where these turrets were. And in 1967, a friend of ours fought here. He was the only person that I've ever met that survived this battle, who's still alive. In this battle happened in 1967, and he remembers how the missiles fell, and they thought they were going to definitely die. And he tells the story that he said the entire place was bombed. He was carrying people's bodies, and he thought, there's no way Israel's going to survive this. There's no way we're getting through this storm. There's no way God could save this people yet again. And guess where I'm standing now? In a place, in an ancient place, which is now within the stewardship of the land of Israel, as God promised to Abraham this very land. And Manasseh used to live here. Gad used to live here. The tribes. Of course, Manasseh was also on that side. But guess what? Once again, the tribes are here. Once again, the Jewish people have returned. And I'm excited to say that this rich history continues as the nations, the non-Jewish people, join together with Israel in love and in blessing. And that's what I see this place being, a place of love, a place of blessing. And it's really just a beautiful, serene place where people used to come and pray. And hey, we invite you to come and join us, no matter what nation you're from around the world. Christians, won't you come and pray right here in this land of miracles?